Thanks, Mark, for being here to talk about your book, Work Happier. Now, tell us where it came from.
Well, a year ago, I published a book called Happy Economics. And Happy Economics was written for managers. So managers could understand the power of having a happy workforce, how it can improve productivity, reduce sick absence, reduce staff turnover. And as a consequence of that, the businesses and organizations can be better. But when I was writing Happy Economics, it struck me that there are obviously billions of people who are in the workforce who aren't managers and are thinking all the time about, am I as happy as I could be? And if I'm not happy, how could I be happier? So the book is based on that. It's trying to help employees all over the world understand what they can do to be happier in their jobs. Now, the really cool piece of research is that what we've done at WorkL is that now I think 1.5 million people have taken our Happy at Work test. We work with over 1,000 organizations around the world. And what we've discovered is that people who are happy in their jobs, who score happy in the WorkL Happy at Work test, are more likely to be promoted, are paid more highly, are less likely to have sick absence, are less likely to leave their jobs, and are generally more satisfied with their working life. So what we discovered is it's really good for individuals. So Work Happier is all about helping individuals understand what it is that makes you happy and successful at work and how you can achieve it.
And in the book, you say that everyone has the right to be happy at work. Can you explain this?
Yeah, I think that for a lot of people, they think that work is a horrible, terrible thing that has to be endured. And I don't think that's right. I think we all have choices every day about how we go into work, what our attitude is there, and we make decisions then based on how we feel about our working life, or we can make decisions. And what the book does is encourage people to make those decisions. So effectively, I think you can fall into one of three camps. You can be not happy with your job and you can decide to do something about it. That's really positive. I'm not happy. I'm either going to speak to the manager or I'm going to leave. I'm going to take control. So when you have agency, that's a really positive thing. The second thing you can do that's positive is acknowledge that you're not happy at that moment in time with the way things are, but you're prepared to live with it and you're prepared to let that unhappiness go because it's part of a bigger picture. You're learning or you're working through some difficult issues and it's painful, but it's all part of a process to help you be better in your job. And everybody's had a job where it's been painful at some points, but you've gone through that and you need to then accept that. You need to say, you know what, it's probably not ideal, but I genuinely want to put up with it because I'm learning and I'm growing. The one thing that you shouldn't do, absolutely shouldn't do, is wake up in the morning, moan about your job to your colleagues, moan about your job when you come home to your partner, moan about your job to your friends, day after day after day. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for any of their mental health or their well-being. And so really what we're trying to do in Work Happier is to encourage people to take agency, to either accept that something in their job is not perfect, but they are prepared to live with it because there are other benefits, or they actively do something about it. And there are more than 10 chapters that detail things that could be going wrong in your working life. And if they are going wrong, what you can do to positively improve them.
And one of the things that people can do, to really take agency and, get happy at work is to sign the Work Happiness Charter. Can you explain what this is?
Yeah, of course. Well, there's nothing that really defines what work should be like, how people should feel at work. And so the Work Happy Charter does define that. It defines your right to be happy at work, what you should expect that drives your happiness. But also it sets out what your responsibility should be, because it's a two-way street. And the expectation that we have is that thousands of organizations sign the Work Happy Charter, but so do individuals, and they become ambassadors and they promote work happiness, they promote the charter. And what we do is we help people understand what work really should feel like when it's good. And if it's not good, what you should go and do about it.
Now you're calling for businesses to also sign this charter. Can you just explain now? It's a bit of a call to action for business owners. Why should they sign it?
Because I think if they commit themselves to providing a happy working atmosphere in the way that we set it out, so thinking about reward and recognition and informing and empowering their people, thinking about the well-being of their employees, filling them with pride in the company or organization they work for and the job they do, thinking about their job satisfaction and career development. If organizations do that, what our data consistently shows is that those organizations outperform their competitors. They have lower staff turnover, lower levels of sick absence, higher levels of profitability, and higher levels of productivity. So it's in an organization's best interest to commit to the charter and what it talks about in generating a culture of happiness at work along those 6 dimensions. And it's also good for their employees. It helps them recruit more but better people. It helps those people then stay in the organization. There are so many positive effects, as we find with the thousands of companies that we now work with around the world.
Now, with the data and the work that WorkL does, managers come up time and time again as being a really key to people's happiness at work. Can you explain how people reading the book what they can learn about how to manage their managers?
Yeah, well, there are several chapters on how to manage your manager. When you have a good relationship with your manager, when you don't have a good relationship with your manager, if you have particular concerns about the way you're being managed, on perhaps not being recognized or not being given the information or perhaps being micromanaged, what I do is I delve into all the things that might be going wrong with the relationship with your manager. I think there are actually 21 sections that cover issues you might have with your manager and what you might do to improve them so that your working life is happier and more successful.
Now, what's the one piece of advice in the book that you want people to take home with them?
I would say the very first thing you mentioned, Becca, and that's that you can take control. You should have agency over how you feel at work, and there's no reason why you shouldn't feel happy. You shouldn't feel that you're treated with respect, you're empowered to do your job, you're well informed, you're appropriately remunerated, that you're recognized when you do something well, that your employer cares for your well-being, you feel proud of your organization and your job, you feel that you're being developed. All of these things are absolutely what you should expect. They're normal. So what I want to do is through the book and through the Work Happier Charter is make it clear to people how work should feel. And then obviously help them to achieve that through the book and the advice in it, help them to achieve it through WorkL, through going there to take the online test, through seeing all the online interactive things that we do, and also to help managers understand that if they do this, they're going to have a far better organization.
It's really interesting, isn't it, what you're doing here, Mark, and what you do with WorkL, and that you're sort of putting, changing the way people view work. And there's a big culture change, isn't there? And that people can enjoy their work. It doesn't have to be a strain or something that people don't look forward to.
Well, that's absolutely right. I think that, I probably grew up in a generation where people thought that work should be onerous. And no, it doesn't need to be onerous. You should feel that you're being personally developed, that you're being fairly rewarded for what you do, you're being recognized when you do something well, that you're well informed, you're well trained, you're given the space, the respect to do your job, your views are listened to. So it should feel as though you're in a collaboration with an organization to help the organization be better and for you to be better. So if you are listening to this and you are genuinely feeling not happy in your job, you don't have to put up with it. On WorkL, we've got a list now of well over 100,000 organisations where individuals have gone and taken the Happy at Work test and they've said where they work. And so we know which are the happiest organisations where people do have all the things that I'm talking about. And we link their scores and their reviews to jobs there. So if you're in a job you're not happy with, you can go and find a job where people are treated in this way and are happy And as a consequence, those companies, organizations are doing better. So my big takeaway is that you can have agency. You can read this book and you can do things to be happier and more successful at work.
And you talked about generations there. We talk a lot about Gen Z, and the data that comes out of WorkL shows that Gen Z really, aren't particularly happy in the workplace. This book can really help Gen Z, can't they? Can't it? It can really help them understand how to be happier. And lots of Gen Z, they have side hustles. This can really help them, drive their careers.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for all generations. And the thing is that everybody's unique. Not everybody in Gen Z is the same. Not everybody who's in their 50s is the same. Not all women are the same. Not all men are the same. And so what we try to do in the book and what we try to do on WorkL with the Work Happier test is to give you specific feedback that's relevant to you so that you can then go and do the things to make you happier at work and more successful at work. But it's certainly true that Gen Z are less likely to want to tolerate working conditions that generations before. They're more demanding, and rightly so, in how the world of work should look and feel.
Thank you, Mark, for your time, and good luck with the book and making everybody happier at work. I'm sure everybody will read it and then take the happy at work test and get happy at work. Thank you.
Thank you, Becca.